Studios.
Here we go.
Okay.
Welcome to the new media show. We're back.
Doing the new media show again.
People are actually going to listen to this junk.
We do it live.
We're live right now.
We'll just do it live.
We're going live.
We just can't get enough. The new media show.
Let's go.
Just do it live.
We're going live. Bada bing, bada boom.
The new media show. We do it live.
Just do it live.
We're going live.
The new media show. I'm like Adam Curry, and you're more like John C. Dvorak.
I think I am Adam Curry, and you're the old curmudgeon.
We do it live. Doing the new media show again.
The new media show.
Technology.
Woo. We make it sound so special. And it absolutely is special. Here we are at the new media show. Rob, welcome back from NAB,
Las Vegas. Another trip to Las Vegas. Wow. It's not something that I look forward to every year.
Yeah, it's the down and back is the smart thing to do. And and I'm sure we've got some things to talk about of your attendance at NAB.
Yeah.
And we've you said when we were doing a little just pre-talk here, you said you haven't been watching what's going on in podcasting. And this week I was actually adding up meetings and I have this ongoing list. I just write down, because we do sprints, I write down everything I do. And when we get into sprint meetings, I'm like, well, there's like 15 JIRA tasks that I wrote. And, I had 8 hours worth of meetings in the last 2 days and customer meetings. And I hardly have time to just stick my neck up to see what other people are doing, let alone, so I can understand. And being in Vegas, you go into the time warp.
Yeah, you do. And you're kind of fully engulfed in other topics and other things that are going on around media and the landscape. And I don't spend my whole time looking at my phone when I'm on the show floor. I'm doing presentations at the National Association of Broadcasters event. It's an all-encompassing kind of thing. It's very tiring too. I got back late last night. And yeah, it's hard to get recalibrated. New time zone, new everything.
Well, it's not so much the time zone, but Vegas just sucks the life out of you.
Oh, it does. It does.
If you don't drink, and I have a new thing here. I'm trying to drink a gallon of water a day, and I'm
doing the same. I got a little dehydrated at the event. It's really easy to do that.
And I've just found that if I don't have a gallon jug to see how much I've drank, I won't drink it. Now I can't do that in Vegas, holler on a gallon jug. Right. But you only carry so many water bottles, and of course then you go to buy water and it's $8 for stuff you can get out of a fountain for free. So it's an event. So tell me, what did you see? First of all, what did you see?
Well, I saw a lot of new technology. I was attracted to, the central halls where a lot of the activity was. And though I did spend a lot of time in the West Hall, which is the new hall, and the North Hall is completely under demo and reconstruction. So,
wow.
So that was the big change at this event.
The North or the South Hall?
The North Hall is completely under construction. That whole section is completely under construction.
So they had everyone shoved into Central and West?
Yep.
Oh,
that's exactly where everybody was.
That's interesting.
Well, Central, West, and South.
Oh, so they were using South.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time up in the South Hall, up in the upper level of the South Hall, because that's where the new Creators Lab conference was up on the top floor of the NAB in the South Hall, way in the back. So there's lots of room back there, so they could have large panel sessions and things like that going on, and there wasn't going to be a lot of noise around because there's not a lot of traffic.
Because that's for CES, I was in the back left-hand corner of South Hall top before, so I know how far it is from anything.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great place if you want to put on panels and sessions and things like that, and that's exactly what I did. I moderated a panel session on the topic of audio and video editing. And the kind of cutting edge trends that are going on around that, which was was a little bit of a departure for me, right? I mean, I usually talk about podcasting trends and things like that, but I'm I'm trying to branch out and get into other types of topics in media and production and things like that. And I had an opportunity to do this. So the guys on stage with me are represented kind of divergent kind of aspects of post-production and editing and things like that. You know, a guy from, that was working on music, licensing, and a guy that is a well-known director. He actually produced the Computer Chronicles series back in the early days.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was up on stage with me, and we were talking about the trends around, and then a guy that works for Magix, the Magic kind of company with the Vegas software and things like that. So that was a good conversation about AI integration into editing, post-production, and how the trends around, just productions in general, utilizing AI, and also what's happening around like a creator like Mr. Beast, and how he's come out publicly and stated that he hates the productions that he's doing right now, and that he's going to change. And so you see, so you see this this movement towards everybody seeing his success, Mr. Beast with his hundreds of millions of views, and now he's shifting over to doing deals with these big cable companies and also the streaming platforms to create his content over there. And I think the feeling that he has is he's been looking critically at his productions, and he feels like maybe he's gone too far down the rabbit hole of overproduction, and this fast cutting explosions and fast moving camera scenes, and him yelling at the camera all the time because there's so much noise or something going on around him or too much going on. So it's almost like he's having a existential kind of rebirth of sorts,
or maybe growing up.
Yeah, well, that's what my comment was that maybe he's just getting a little older and he's getting a little more conservative with what he's interested in doing. And so we may see a big shift, but what we've seen in the industry is his influence has really impacted a lot of creators, right? That want to duplicate what he's doing.
Right.
I think a lot of the creators have a hard time duplicating Mr. Beast because he's such a big budget with his productions, and he'll give away $500,000, that kind of prize money at the end of his show, his shows, because he's generating that kind of money with his productions.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how we're in this kind of this shift phase of media production and shifting back. And I think we got a clue that Mr. Beast is starting to think more about genuine productions and more genuine experiences, slowing things down a little bit and not yelling at the audience and not being too bombastic, as kind of the direction as he sees going forward. And that has a big influence on what other creators do in the space. And I raised this point that it sounds like he wants to become more like a podcaster.
And what was the reaction to that?
Well, I think this concept, I mean, all the folks on the stage are definitely clued into podcasting and this, this convergence that's happening between video and audio, and how important audio was up on the stage. Well, was and continues to be.
Don't use the word "was." It makes it sound like it's in the past. It's still valuable.
I just said it is. So
okay, but don't use the word "was" because "was" implies the past. Was important.
Well,
it is.
Well, important. It does. Yeah. Well, I think what they were trying to point out is that it's increasing in its importance, the audio quality. I mean, I think television and video productions have historically de-emphasized audio, and so what they're seeing is kind of like a re-emergence of audio quality as something that's a higher priority for a lot of video creators.
It's curious because I've always said they'll forgive you for bad video, but they won't forgive you for bad audio.
I don't know if that's entirely true either. I think good video is fully appreciated if you're a video creator.
Yeah.
But the audio has historically been kind of the stepchild of media creation on television anyway. So you've seen this kind of this resurgence of quality in the actual experience of content production. But yet, you're seeing like a Mr. Beast kind of shift away from this bombastic, high speed, lots of camera shifts and things like that. So maybe he's going to slow it down, and that could be indicative of a different type of content that you're seeing. Even you're seeing this on places like YouTube and other platforms, as well as the video creators are starting to think more about, more intimate experiences and more genuine and authentic type of stuff, less high produced
Hype.
content. Yeah, right.
So
So that's a big Uber trend in all this, right?
So what about the gear? Because usually NAB
Oh yeah,
is not a creator event. There's not that many creators that they've been. That's one of the reasons we stopped going.
yeah, and I think that NAB is having a little bit of an identity crisis right now. I think that they are seeing what's happening in the broadcast side of things, and I think that there's some pullback in the support of the NAB because of kind of the mainstream media and stuff kind of struggling, and that's why I went to this year's event, because I had an opportunity to present at a new section or a new content area at the NAB. It's called the Creators Lab, and it basically is trying to focus on trying to talk about creators in the digital space, and trying to highlight those and bring in experts that can talk to these more digital topics, right?
Well,
and the analog topics,
then they're going to have
dominating.
to change. They're going to have to change your complete strategy, because there used to be a lot of talent, and I'm just going to use the word talent, that was at the event, and the talent disappeared. The talent wasn't there anymore. So what was the attendance then of your event? Was there a lot of talent, or was it a lot of looky-loos, or what would you typify the audience that was at this creators area?
Well, I think it's early days for this shift for them. So it was, I mean, on the scale of an NAB, where there's like, I believe they had like 70,000 attendees at this, which is still not back to what it was
Right.
back in
Pre 100 plus.
Yeah, back in like 2019 timeframe, when it was a much bigger event. But I think it's going to take some time for them to shift the perception of the event to be more of a creative event. I mean, it's still got the name broadcast in its name. So, but I guess as they shift more to just using the acronym, maybe they can extend that.
Well, it's just like
CES.
Yeah, CES did, how they changed.
Right. So I think that may be what's going to happen here over the next couple of years.
Yeah, we'll see. But they didn't they drove us away.
Well, they backed away from doing a podcast pavilion,
and we got put in the South 40, and basically I said, you put me in the back in South 40, I'm not coming back. We did get moved to Central. We were in a great position. We did all our marketing last year. And the ROI out of the event was absolutely horrible. So, it's a situation now, and I think Podcast Movement, Podfest, other events, they're going to have to really start paying attention. Okay, if you're going to have an event where there's going to be 3,000 creators there, then you need to make sure you're doing. And Chris at Podfest did this very well. He got the creators into the exhibitor area, and it was liquor, and got them in there and got them circulating, got them seeing us and got us talking to people. But if events don't take care of the exhibitors, those events will not exist. Because they can exist, but they'll exist without exhibitors. Because I have to have, I have to generate ROI. And we're going back to Podfest. We're excited to go back to Podfest. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm headed to Manila 2 weeks from tomorrow, and I'm going to be going out and participating in Podfest Asia. I'll be speaking on the one-day event in Podfest Asia. So a friend of mine who basically has a pretty big business in the Philippines, not podcast related per se, But she does have a podcast. Approached me and said, "Hey, would you come out?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a long ways to go." And so essentially, I made the decision to go ahead and pull the trigger. So it's a long ways to go to speak and then come back. But the numbers look pretty good for a short-term event, and it's just a 1-day event. So I'm going to fly out, have a couple of days in advance to, I guess for a better word, to recover a little bit from jet lag, then hit the event, and then fly right back. Because as soon as I get back, I'm only back a week. We go to London. So I think what really ultimately has to happen in these big events like this, if they're worried about loot, because broadcasting is, and those people that sell equipment to broadcasters, television's probably okay for a while because it's not going down. Or people are still going to need cameras to shoot videos and TV and movies and all that stuff. But what did you see from the vendors? Or the vendors have they been awoken? Rode obviously has. Shure has been serving creators for years.
Rode was not at the event, so they did a co-booth with H&L out of New York.
Oh, that's you mean H&L? You mean
the retailer?
B&H.
No. Was it B&H? Yeah, out of New York.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
B&H.
Yeah. So they basically, did they have Rode people there, or was it just B&H people showing off Rode gear?
Yeah, I didn't actually see the booth, but
okay.
But I do know that Rode folks, at least they used to have staff out of the Northeast.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I've met them.
But
yeah, I've met them before.
So I don't know how much you got to transverse different booths, because I always go seeking different stuff, see what's going on the NDI front. And
I didn't go to India. I went to the DJI booth, and I went to
I bet you DJI was busy.
Yeah, and the IMAX booth, I went there too. That was really interesting. They're coming out with a consumer camera, as well as a whole platform around a digital projector in IMAX, as well as laptops and like iPad type of.
That's interesting.
Tablets. So you'd be able to have the technology to support IMAX encoding built into your computer.
Ching, ching, ching. Very expensive, I'm sure. So
so it's a consumer product line that they're coming out with, which I thought was very interesting.
So when you went into DJI, I know I'm a big fan of their Osmo handheld right now, and I think it's kicking GoPro's butt. What was the vibe at DJI?
Yeah, it was a very highly attended booth.
Yeah.
No question. From the drones to the cameras and all sorts of stuff that they have there. It's quite a very popular attraction at the event. And I saw robot dogs and flying kind of like transmitter tower.
How many times did you see the word AI enabled in every booth?
Oh yeah, everybody, all of like the editing software and things like that are being shown at the event have AI technology built into them to segment video, to stitch them together, to do transitions. I mean, it's just amazing how the AI technology is being rolled into just about everything. And it's all, that's the common theme here, is it's all supportive technology. It's not primary. So it's not like people are creating everything with AI. That's not the emphasis that's going on right now. This is all about, and it's the same thing that you're doing with your platform, Todd. It's all augmenting, saving time, optimizing, trying to make things easier for the production.
It's interesting that you talk about Adobe, because I had Adobe announce some stuff yesterday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And basically talking about Gen AI coming to Adobe Premiere, and there's a YouTube video out there that's gotten quite a bit of buzz, and it's been talked about. And actually, I had a call with an Adobe rep on their generative AI within Premiere, so I kind of got a little bit of a sneak peek earlier this week. That's one advantage of not going to the show. I can talk to people that want to promote what's going on in the show because I'm not
Mhm.
at the show.
Right.
And so, but the thing that really caught my eye, and I don't think it's NEB related, but are you familiar with the app called Captions?
Not specifically,
Well,
no.
it's no
Mm-mm.
longer an app. It's an AI creative studio, and I've
So it's
already.
a cloud-based software SaaS
I
model. Is
don't
that what
know
it is?
how it works. I haven't used it. I'm probably cloud based, but a podcast that I listen to, um, I've stopped using Descript, and they're going to use this now.
Oh.
And what caught my attention was that this company or this podcast was hardcore Descript users. They were like, and so when the captions came out, they had their staff do a compare and contrast,
Mhm.
and basically, even though they're promoting it as a video studio, I guess the
Mhm.
audio stuff in it is off the chart. So, I'm going and looking at their website and saying, okay, they got an API. What's going on here?
Mhm.
And there could be there definitely can be, there's some stuff here that's going to happen. So what I see happening, nobody better rest on their laurels at all,
No. No.
because
I don't think
this,
they are. I mean, I think a lot of
yeah,
these big companies are pushing pretty hard on
you
this
know,
right now.
and it's what's going to end up happening here is it's do or die, and and just looking at some of this stuff, I'm like, how can it make my life easier for someone that does both audio and video, and I don't
Mhm.
edit? That's my issue. Is I'm not an editor, so I've never had to edit even the video. I don't edit. But I know a lot of people worry about that. I had a phone call yesterday. Matter of fact, I'll tell you something here in a second that's going to blow you away. Um, but it just tells me that, and again, I have no idea, based beyond what this people in this podcast said, that tool is, they've stopped using Descript and they've moved to this. That when someone says that,
Mhm.
that makes me go, huh? And because
Mhm.
Descript's pretty powerful in my opinion. So
It's far from perfect though, Todd. I mean, I use it all the time and it's a little slow sometimes and it likes to kind of crash and then restart to some degree sometimes.
no,
So
it's
it's still a little buggy.
yeah.
And the UI is certainly not intuitive. So I think they've got a long way to go to help that tool be a little easier to navigate. But I did wanted to mention too that I did put on a StreamYard workshop at the NEB.
Uh-huh.
So that was a very dedicated topic workshop with video.
Did you guys have that right at the StreamYard booth or?
Th- There was no StreamYard booth.
Oh,
It was at the Creator Lab.
oh,
So it
okay.
was one of the sessions at the Creator Lab. So I got up and actually demoed the whole platform to an audience at the event, and so that was and even StreamYard is incorporating some AI technology into their platform too. But the big news about StreamYard is they got sold to
Yeah.
a company based out of Italy. It's called Bending Spoons out of Italy, which also owns the Evernote
Oh,
application as well as the Meetup application, and they also own a video editing platform called Splice. And so there's a big transition happening right now at StreamYard. I believe both of the founders may not be with the company anymore. I don't know. That's not confirmed yet.
right.
But I get a sense that that has probably happened.
That's interesting. They're not going to hang out for a couple of years and
Well, they got acquired by Hopin like 4 years ago,
oh,
and then this is the second acquisition that they've endured.
wow.
So this purchase is, I think, is going to dramatically change the company, and it looks like after doing some research into the new company that's acquired, it's a company that most of the team is based out of Milan, Italy. So it's an Italian company that bought it.
But where is most of StreamYard? team?
in the U.S.
So what's that mean for the product? Is it going to turn sideways and flip over?
Nobody really knows. I mean, I don't know yet. So it's only been a week since it was announced.
Yeah.
So it's still early days on that. But I have a contract relationship with StreamYard. But who knows?
Yeah.
Change happens in
That's right.
these type of situations. So who knows what that looks like going forward. But
so I'll tell you a call I had yesterday.
Mhm.
And I got a call from this lady, and she was exasperated. And she's not a hosting customer. Got
Mhm.
recommended to me through a third party. And
Mhm.
she says, tell me how much your guys' hosting costs. I said, well, our plans start at, most of our customers on a $20 plan, but it's 12, 20, 40, 80, professionals, 100. And I explained what the pro account was. And she said, 20.
Mhm.
Really? 20? Are you serious? It's only 20. I said, yes, it's $20 a month. She goes, you're not charging enough. And I laughed and I said, well, I wish all potential customers had this type of an opinion. She goes, because.
Well, Todd, can I make one little comment on that?
Sure.
I don't think any of the podcast hosting platforms have taken into account inflation, have they?
None of us have raised prices.
It's an interesting point. I think, but go ahead and continue.
It is an interesting point, but
yeah.
So I don't even want to say what I think everyone should do, but that would be considered collusion. So,
but I can, because I'm not a part
well,
of it
okay, I know, but still, it's people and here's where the kicker was, and this is where her point of view is. She says, my company's spending $4,000 a month to produce 4 episodes a month," and I said,
Really?
That's insanity.
Audio only?
Audio only, and I said, what are you getting for that? She said 4 interviews. So it's whoever. I know who she's with, so I'm not going to say which company she's with. I'm not going to bambaste anybody. They get 4 interviews a month. They're also using their company's also paying another company to try to find more interviews, so they're paying more money to another company. They get 4 shorts a month, 1 short for each episode. They don't edit. They do post the episode and the show notes. And she says the show notes look to be AI generated. And she says, well, how much does your pro hosting, because we have a pro service.
Right.
And I said, for 4 episodes a month, I can save you several thousands of dollars.
Right.
Because our pro production team, it's still, it's not. She's gonna still spend $1,000 to get 4 episodes out if she wants a pro production team. But I said they'll do the editing, they'll do show notes, they'll be with you online when you record, blah 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 blah. And I just kind of laid it out. And to me, I was just like, $4,000 for 4 episodes a month. And really all they're truly getting is, so this also is a part of the podcasting business that probably is set for disruption.
I don't think there's that many people that are actually doing that, Todd.
I'm hearing.
Do you think there is?
I think there is. I saw a Facebook post today. And it was ironic because I hadn't really paid attention. I knew these booking services were getting expensive, but I heard this. I saw this Facebook post, and it's in some favorite channel, so I have to be careful. Well, no, it's from as a post by Jessica Rhodes. We know how good we are at interview connections, and I'm familiar with interview connections. And we don't need to prove it with
I've been a client of theirs.
And we don't need to prove it with a 2 booking audition for a fraction of what we charge. And she is not the company I'm referring to with this other lady.
Right.
But she says we offer a program which is $17,000 or 10 payments of $1,850 for 30 bookings. With 11 years experience, we knew how to do 2 booking tryouts. So that's what she said. So I don't know what all they do. If they just do interview connections, only interview connections. And I don't know if they, again, I don't know. I haven't followed. Do they do production and shorts and
As
everything?
far as I know, no, I've been on a 1-year contract with the Interview Connections before in the past.
So $17,000 divided by 30 bookings
Mhm.
is $566 a booking.
Yeah. Well, and there are shows out there, Todd, that are charging for placement now. And it seems to be with a certain part of the community, kind of a hot new business model is to charge guests
charge
to be
for an
on your
interview.
program.
Well,
Right.
I don't think in this market that these prices of people paying $4,000 for 4 guests a month or $566 per interview is a sustainable. This market's changing, and people are looking to save money. So I don't know.
That's the shift. Yeah.
So
That's part of the shift that's going on right now. It's really interesting how this podcast market is shifting and changing a little bit, and how, what's working and what isn't working is different too.
But the reason that she called me an exasperation was, and here's the reason: the gal is a contract. She's doing a podcast for a brand. She's the talent, and the company's trying to decide, with their overhead as high as it is, $50,000 a year to do an episode a week, whether or not this investment is worth it. So here I am charging $20 a month for a hosting account.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a business that is now about ready to abandon podcasting because they're spending $1,000 a month. So,
per episode, you mean?
Yeah, per episode. Yes, $1,000 per episode
per week. So, right.
And so I'm just sitting back, kind of like, these people are going to put me out of business. That are charging $566 for 1 guest booking. And then people have the gall to say that your hosting costs are too high at $20 a month. And don't get me wrong, it just 2 things that just presented itself in front of me in 2 days and made me really sit back and say, first of all, I'm going to help creators with whatever I can do at my company. We're going to do whatever we can do to help creators produce podcasts at a very low rate, very low production cost rate. And so for her, she's like, she says, I don't even know, the lady that called me, she said, I don't even know who I'm hosting with. And I went and looked. Didn't even know, has nary a clue. And I looked it up. I said, oh, you're hosting with such and such. She says, how much does their service cost a month? And I told her. And she's just like, you can hear it on the other end. She was a very polite woman, but she could have been cussing. And her livelihood is now being impacted because of these very high-end, very, very high-end productions that their company is doing to have a branded podcast. And, they look at the stats numbers, and just like any other show out there, 100, 200, actually, I think they're up to about 600 people an episode listening, which is pretty good for a business podcast. I didn't look it up. She told me, because we don't host them. But it just, to me, was just like, yeah, if I'm a business owner, I'm looking at that ROI as well. I'm going to say, okay, we're reaching how many people, and I'm spending $50,000 a year. She didn't tell me how much she was getting paid. So there's more money because they're paying a talent to do this too. So if you're, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I totally see where you're going with that. I mean, I think that's part of one of the Uber trends that are going on right now is this recognition that people have been way overspending on producing podcasts. You know, even the big media companies are cutting back and how much they're spending for a show production. So I think this is part of a big Uber kind of trend that's going on in the podcasting space, is that we're getting back to really what the podcast medium has really been all about is very efficient production of content. And that has been a direction the industry has kind of abandoned because of the pursuit of the almighty dollar. But Todd, before we kind of expand further on that, I wanted to ask you, because this came up online in a discussion thread that I saw about this perception that people have about what a branded podcast is. What is your particular perception of what a branded podcast is versus just a regular podcast?
Well, we have, again, I don't call them branded podcasts to my customers. They call themselves.
No, but
what to me?
Yeah,
to me, it's
what does it mean to you
to
as a distinction?
Podcast Insider that Blueberry does is a branded podcast.
It's a podcast in support of a company or a business,
yes,
right? Is
yes.
that kind of what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because this conversation came up with a fellow out of the UK, because he's been hearing conflicting definitions on what a branded podcast is, and mine is really clear. It's any podcast that's really being produced in support of a company or a corporation.
Yeah.
And isn't
really or a product or a service. Again, it's
which is a company or a corporation, right?
Yeah.
It can be if you as an individual have a company and you're doing a podcast that's around the topic of your company, then that's a branded podcast. This show, if you were to define it, I wouldn't define it as a branded podcast.
No, it's not a branded podcast.
Right. But a show like the Trader Joe's podcast is a branded podcast.
Yeah, Podcast Insider is purely a branded podcast. We're telling our ideology, our products and services, what we're doing, how we think you should be doing it. You know, that absolutely. And we put the Blueberry brand behind it.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily, it shouldn't be actually kind of just like a commercial for that brand. It should be about education, helping people understand the market that maybe that
90% of the stuff we do in Podcast Insider is educational.
Right.
And if we have a new product, we'll announce it and talk and go over it, but we don't.
Yeah, it's the same thing I'm doing for StreamYard with the show, the podcast tips that I'm doing. It's not a commercial for StreamYard.
It's like Libsyn in their podcast and whoever else does one for their companies. Yeah. Same thing. So
I mean, just to be clear, I was just, because this had came up online in a big thread, and it's like the person that posted this thread was like saying that everybody understands it to mean something different, and that's very confusing.
We did get a few boosts, I think. Let me see here. Of course, the stream is not working in Fountain. Still says scheduled. I have no idea, Mike. Let me send the live bat single out again. I don't know why it didn't go. So thanks for the sats there. Let me know, Mike. 1701 sats. Let's see, what else? Did we get any others? No, that's the only one so far. So we are live and lit with those new podcasting apps at podcastapps.com. So be sure to get one and give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it blows. Whenever I hear, it's just like last year, I heard of a company that was a magazine. I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Financial magazine. Mm-hmm. That was spending like $40,000 a month for their podcast production. And I basically said, what brother-in-law got hooked up, I was like, what kind of deal was that, And so, I think there is going to be at some point here a reckoning as people's belts. I don't know. What did it feel like? Everyone was living high in the hog at NAB, or was it what was the price point you were seeing for products out there? Was it $99.95 or $39.95.95? What was the price point of stuff?
Are you talking about the devices and things that were being sold there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, usually at the NAB you don't see pricing
I
too
always
much.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't always ask, so I can't really speak to that specifically. It's more about sharing the tech of it, and there wasn't a lot of companies announcing new things at the event, so it was just one of those things that people are just showing their wares.
I have not been on because I was not registered. I haven't been on the deluge of emails. So a few people that are in the press know me have said, "Hey, let's meet," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not there this year," and they're like, "What?" So
Yeah, so Todd, I wanted to mention too that I saw that Stephen Bartlett, of the host of the Diary of a CEO, has launched a podcast company, and he's hired a couple of former Acast folks to manage it for him. So he has a very popular YouTube show that's also a podcast, and is basically jumping in with both feet, trying to do this, like we've been talking about, this convergent strategy of doing YouTube as well as podcasting. And he's started a new company that's focused on doing that. He's based out of the UK, but he's going to have an office here in New York. So if you haven't ever watched the Diary of a CEO, he has some very compelling guests, and he has a very compelling production too. Not unlike like the Impact Theory kind of video show on YouTube. And I think that there's some lessons to learn from what they're doing. It's a conversational interview format that's there, and it is transferable over to an audio podcast. So there are successful examples that are starting to pop up that are trying to walk this divide between audio and video increasingly. And so I think we are seeing this happen, Todd.
well, man, welcome all of the video first creators to the podcast community. Welcome to the club.
Well, yeah, and you've got the tool now, right?
That's
to help
right,
them
yeah.
make that jump. So if they want to primarily create for YouTube, then work with Todd and the Blueberry platform to get that channel fed into his platform and get it out as an
Yeah,
audio.
and don't even have to do nothing. Set it up and set it and forget it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because basically what I'll just do a little preview here. I'll tell you what I did. The Podcast Asia event is going to, the agenda was a little video heavy. So I've been thinking about
I talked to Chris last night before I flew back, because he was at the NAB too. So he had a million questions for me about what I saw at the NAB, because he's trying to take what he's seeing in these big competitive kind of conferences and trying to make sure that he's at the cutting edge of what's going on. So, and I would say that too, Todd, is that what I'm seeing at the NAB is this emphasis towards digital video is really kind of on everybody's mind right now.
Well, how about this for a title?
Yeah.
Beyond the Visual, Mastering Multimodal Podcasting.
Yeah. Okay. So what is that from?
That's the title of the presentation I'm going to give at Podcast Asia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Beyond the Visual, Mastering Multimodal Podcasting.
Okay, so you're talking about going from video to audio, which makes sense.
No,
Todd.
I'm going to talk about the benefit of and I'm going to be very realistic. You know my stance that a very small percentage of people, very, very small percentage, tiny percentages of people can be successful in the video sphere. So,
yeah, but there clearly are people that are being successful.
But again, if you look at the masses,
no, of course, right.
If you look at
the same thing with podcasting, Todd. Not everybody makes it big in podcasting.
I understand that,
right?
But you have a higher chance of being successful in audio than you do in video by far. So
I don't know that that's necessarily. I mean, is there any evidence that you have of that, Todd?
Yeah, just look at the small percentage of people that make it in YouTube. So small.
But Todd, you can't really capture that data.
No, they say how many people are monetized on the platform. So you know.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything in my view.
Yeah,
So-
because you could be monetized and not making any money. Just like in podcasting, you can be monetized and not making any money either. So
Yeah,
not all things that's
you can also
equal.
be monetized without being a part of the YouTube monetization program.
That's
too.
right.
So it's not a good kind of gauge on your metric. Right?
Again, why are you going to, okay, again, I predict that if everyone that wants to do all this great video stuff, they're going to burn out faster than anyone else because of the higher end and the way people like to edit, the production time, everything. I think the burnout rate is going to be off the chart, and people are going to quit quicker.
Yeah, but I wouldn't discourage people from.
I'm not discouraging people.
Well, yeah,
not
but
at
that's
all.
kind of how it comes across.
Well,
right.
It's because it's true.
I don't know for everyone that it is true. I think there are people that have a lot of natural gifts on the visual side.
Well, maybe they do. Again, I think I said multimodal.
Right. So podcasting has really always been audio and video. So
but until 2 years ago, people forgot about video.
I don't think anybody forgot about it, Todd. I just don't think that the industry of podcasting was embracing video. I think it was more that they were focused exclusively on just audio.
When did the narrative start to change that video is everything? YouTube didn't make this plan to do what they were going to do just overnight. They've had a long term. To me, it was very strategic. What they did was very smart, and so they fed a narrative, and people have bought into the narrative. I don't 100% believe the narrative, so because I just don't see it. I see the data. I don't see it. So
it doesn't. I mean, you've shifted, Todd, to a strategy that is embracing video to audio.
Absolutely, because they don't know what they don't know what they're missing.
Yeah, but there's no reason why a creator can't start in video and then just shift over to audio.
They could, and if they are,
that's part of your strategy.
If they're doing video, then they are a YouTuber, and they are doing.
Yeah, but
video.
Todd, you're okay capturing creators on your platform that are doing video, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I wouldn't discourage it.
I'm not discouraging. We're going to bring people over from the dark side into the light. So.
See it as an opportunity, Todd.
Well,
and I know that you are, but you're not always, telling me that.
For audio podcasters that are currently audio podcasters, and I don't have to say it 100 times because I've already said it 100.
Yeah.
Be careful. Be strategic. Don't think that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. This is the thing. This is, and that's all I have to say.
It's tough on both sides, Todd. Let's be honest about it. It's not easy to be a content creator, period.
Oh, it's true. Now. But I will say this. Yeah. Audio shows right now are on a major upswing because of this narrative that's going around. Podcasting is dead. Well, no, the audience members haven't left. They're still here and shows are growing.
Well, existing shows are growing.
Oh, absolutely.
What I would profess to say is that the energy around new audio podcasts is not really there.
Well, those that are starting are
new video creators. The energy is there.
I don't know about that. It's not changed.
Then why is everybody talking about video then, Todd?
Because
everybody talks about video. Nobody is really talking about an audio first strategy right now.
Well, then let's let it play out.
I'm not arguing with you necessarily on that point. I'm just arguing with you that what we see in the market today, and I saw it at NEB big time, is this emphasis around video opportunities. And it's increasingly everybody I talk to, it's like that's what everybody's interested in doing. And if you're a platform that's not kind of catering to that, of which you shifted and you are, so it's it's just confirmation to me that that this is where the opportunity is to grow going forward.
But
is on the video side.
new programming that's coming online all across the board. Across the board, audio content at this time is growing at faster rates than we've ever seen before.
Growing in what
audience size?
Aspect?
In audience size, because again, we're down to 300. Let me go over and look at the numbers. What are we at right now?
But Todd, if you look at the new audio podcast show creation numbers, it's pretty flat.
We're keeping our head above the water. Last 30 days, 355,000 shows updated. So it's down again. But guess what?
Well, it's up and down every week. So yeah,
it continues to nudge down on the number of new audio shows. But those that are
okay, you're talking about new show series. Or
no, we're talking about
publishing of episodes.
Yeah, publishing of episodes.
So I see it up and down almost every other week.
But here's the main thing is that the shows that are publishing are growing. Doesn't matter if they're new or old. My personal show at Geek News Central,
yeah.
I'm up like 16% already this year. Why?
I don't disagree with that.
It's
existing shows are typically doing okay, and they're growing.
Therein lies the opportunity. So
it is, but the problem is people aren't thinking
Yeah.
audio first right now. They're thinking of video first.
Well, then that's why I'm here.
Yeah, I know you are. and it's okay, but I also think it's definitely there's a reason why people are not starting audio shows right now, and it's because all the attention is focused on video. And I see your point. I mean, if people really dedicated themselves to creating a quality audio production, they could probably grow.
And it's a lot easier to create a quality audio show than it is to create a quality video show.
But those creators that are going to consider starting a new audio show are going to feel the market pressure to create video too.
Well,
that's just the reality of the market right now.
The majority of people that I've asked me about that, and we look at the realities of the upfront cost and production time, don't do it. So, and some will, some won't.
Yeah, that's like telling somebody not to do something that they hear from everybody else in the market that they should be doing.
Well,
and it's
a
hard thing to convince somebody not to do something that they're hearing from all the experts.
Not everyone has the talent to do video. And
I don't disagree with you on that point either at all. I'm just saying that the market is telling creators right now to be.
Why do you think that is?
Primarily because of YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And that's
a
factor that we can't exclude, because they are the number one platform to find content in the world right now. So, to
a small percentage of shows.
No, it's the number one platform. It's the second largest search engine on the internet.
I understand that. To a small percentage of channels.
No, I'm talking
about YouTube. If someone's
very specific here, Todd.
If you're searching for
saying to a small number of channels that are podcasts. So
I'm saying when someone goes on YouTube and searches for something, aka something, they're going to present a small number of the top channels in YouTube. Yeah, there's a lot of search being done, distributed to a small number globally. A small number.
I think we're talking about two different things.
No, we're not.
So
if I go on YouTube,
you're talking about the algorithm versus search. Those are two
if I go on YouTube and I search for a topic, what do they show me? They show me the top shows only in those categories for that category of content.
Sure, I would say some of them that come up in the results, but they also have to be relevant to the search query.
Right. And again, but they only surface. There's millions of shows on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
That was kind of my point. It's not a small.
No. No.
Content pool.
So the content pool makes it nearly impossible unless unless you have climbed the ranks to be found. That's
Well, you better get in the search results.
well, everyone is in the search results if they're doing a YouTube channel. They're writing a title. They're writing, but again, YouTube
It's the
puts
same thing with podcasting.
but
They may not
YouTube-
be doing it right.
but YouTube puts more emphasis on YouTube channels that have had high amounts of playtime, and they may have they may have a topic that's rated. They're going to get ranked higher than a show that's brand new or someone that's new trying to grow. If they don't have very many views, they're not going to be surfaced.
Well, they're an ad business, Todd.
Oh, that's true. They are. They're.
So why-
There you go.
Well,
There you go. There you
Well-
go. You just bam. You
Yeah.
hit it on the head. They're going to
Well,
surface
they're
stuff
an-
that they can sell the most advertising to.
Right.
Absolutely.
and that's that. I think everybody should know that, right? That's what they're doing.
In
and-
podcasting, when someone searches on Google, yeah, you're going to have some ads maybe in search, but you still have the chance of being surfaced much higher in a Google search than you ever will in a YouTube search.
Well, then I would say that Apple needs to get their act together because what they're doing in their search sucks. So it's not going to generate links to active shows. It's going to clutter your search results with a bunch of archive shows. And that is not what YouTube primarily is doing.
Oh, that's
right
for
now.
sure.
So, I think that podcasting can learn from, to some degree, what YouTube does. I'm not, it's this conflict between search results or automatic starting to play things. So let's say you watch one video and then once you finish that and you didn't click to watch something else on a purposeful basis and it just defaults to the next video, oftentimes YouTube will default to a more of an archive show, but it'll be relevant to your interests, right? So you look at what Apple does. Apple doesn't really make any suggestions to you that is intelligent around the topics that you enjoy listening to.
But that's not how podcasting is. I don't want to be force fed another show by Apple. I want to feed my brain and my intellect with the content that I have picked out. And that's what makes podcasting a huge difference. And there's very few times when I get done playing an episode on any podcast app where there isn't a show that I'm subscribed to doesn't have an episode I haven't listened to available for me to listen to. So the consumption is different.
Well, just keep in mind is that we're seeing this algorithmic model for podcasts in YouTube. I think it's going to wind up coming to Spotify and Apple at some point. The same model of algorithms deciding what the next episode that you might want to listen to.
Well, I
in
think
more
Spotify is
of a lean back experience.
Well, I don't want to be fed content that I'm not subscribed
I know you
to.
don't, Todd, but there are people out there that may be okay with that.
I don't know. I don't think that's the way
it's more like a linear radio experience.
I think podcasting is more of a I have chosen to listen.
Oh, it is.
I
agree with you, Todd.
I think the number of people, if someone forced some content on me, I would quit using the app.
Yeah, but I think you're thinking of it in a very negative light.
It is negative for me. It is negative for me. It's a very negative experience to be forced to listen to something that I don't want to listen to. I don't like being fed different content on YouTube either. I have a big enough channel list that I can go and listen to something else. I don't like being force-fed stuff on YouTube. So maybe it's just me.
Well, it does force the user to make a decision. So let's say they've listened to an episode and they want to not get what the algorithm will recommend to them. They have to go back to their wall and select the next video.
Absolutely.
Right?
But I've got a playlist, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm always got stuff in my queue. So I don't have to go back to a wall.
So what the difference is podcasts are basically very similar to a channel on YouTube. It's a series of episodes, right? but it can be multiple series of episodes. Like I have probably 4 different series on my one YouTube channel. So in each, some of them are podcasts, considered podcasts in the algorithm, and other ones are not. It just depends on what they are.
We understand what that works, but again, Rob, it just goes back, and really the only argument is here. I think podcasting has been to the point where if someone wants to be fed, and I'd love to hear this from the audience, do you want to be fed something that an algorithm tells you what's good to be next? No, what I want to do is I want Todd to make recommendations to my audience of other stuff I think, and I want my audience to make recommendations. I just
so
don't.
When I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about in my view, it's ideal that this is the shift that's going to happen, but I think that the logical conclusion these big tech companies are going to have is that they're going to apply AI technology to create these automated playlists.
They have to, because guess what? I don't think Apple will, but if Spotify definitely will, because guess what they want to do? They want to monetize in between that content. They got to pay bills. So, of course they will. And that's what YouTube does. They got to make money. That's why they force you to watch, because if you're not paying for whatever their package is, they run an ad right at that beginning of that next episode that they're forcing on you,
right?
Because it's all about the money. That's what we have to continue to remember here, is that they're in the business to make money, not put money in creators' pockets unless you go through huge amounts of jumping through hoops, unless you have huge number of listening hours, and then you get paid a CPM that's absolutely dog crap. So
so Todd, I think this kind of takes us down this next kind of rabbit hole path on this topic.
All I can say is thank God podcasting's free and open.
As the concept of proprietary platforms, right? And that cuts to the chase of this whole conversation.
Well, Spotify's learned podcasting doesn't work on a proprietary platform, so they've opened up, and they're now distributing their shows through open RSS.
Well, they've actually been doing that for years now, Todd.
No, on their signed shows that they had underneath lock and key, like Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Okay.
The exclusive shows that they have.
Right.
Yeah. So, but they're kind of abandoning the exclusive. I think the days of exclusive content are kind of numbered at this point.
Yeah, they've learned.
But you still have to look at like a Netflix and Amazon Prime, and there's exclusives there.
Of course, they're going to be exclusives there. But what percentage of the market share does Amazon Prime have in the podcasting space? Less than what, 1/10?
Well, I'm not really saying it. Yeah, I'm not really saying it as really the same thing as the podcast industry, but it's just analogous to the trend lines that we're seeing in media right now around this concept of proprietary versus open, right? And I think we have seen the shift, like you said, Todd, with Spotify shifting back to more open distribution. And I think the big reason for that is that they saw more ad revenue opportunities by getting their content even outside of their platform.
YouTube won't.
So it was really a profit motive to actually make that move. It wasn't because they all of a sudden got altruistic about open.
Yeah,
versus
YouTube won't do that though.
No, because they built their model around actually everything that's going on, Todd, drives more content to YouTube.
Right.
So even well, I guess your strategy is to take content out of their platform and drive it into a new medium, which is a smart approach. I think that's a great approach.
And why do I have different media types, not podcasters? Why do I have now different media types saying we want out of X locked in platform? We want to be open. We don't want to be tied. I think there's a shift even amongst creators, and maybe Mr. Beast or whatever his name is has figured out that maybe he's worth a lot more on the open market than he is in a closed market.
I would say, Todd, Mr. Beast is the number one online content creator in the world. So, I mean, he's even bigger than Joe.
So he probably has realized that he's worth more on the open market than being restricted to a closed market.
Mm-hmm.
So if Mr. B says I need to be other places beyond YouTube,
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, but I don't see his content ever becoming a podcast unless it's a video podcast. But
Oh.
that's kind of what he's already
he
doing.
does different content, so
It's kind of what he's already doing. So
but
it doesn't make any sense.
But again, it's people are starting to realize, and it's not just YouTubers. It's people that create audiobooks, people that create documentaries. It includes musicians. They all knew they're getting screwed. Now, I saw a TikTok from oh my God, smokes a lot of weed. Rapper Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
He announced his earnings from Spotify, and it was something like, I don't want to say, it was either 52 million or 52 billion, one of those two numbers, views on TikTok. I mean, on Spotify, and his check was only $52,000.
Really?
His royalty check that he got. So let me see here. Let's say if I can find this. Snoop Dogg announces earnings from Spotify. Okay, yeah. Snoop Dogg unveiled the stark reality of streaming economics, disclosing a mere $45,000 for a billion Spotify streams, a surprising revelation on Business United podcast. Now, if you have a billion plays of your music track and you get a shitty little check of $45,000, then if an artist, music artist like this, who is gotten a billion plays on a streaming platform, only gets a check for $45,000, there's something seriously wrong with the compensation for creators. And he hasn't pulled his music from Spotify. But why are creators? Because these companies don't care about creators. And if we looked at the rev split that probably YouTube and others take and how much money they earn off creators, I think creators, YouTubers, podcasters, music artists, book writers, movie creators, maybe it is time to take control. Because I bet you that if I had Snoop Dogg's music in Wave Lake and he was doing value for value, that he would have made a heck of a lot more than $45,000 on probably less than 1 million plays. So there's got, at some point, regardless of people what they want to do and how people want to be moved to live streaming, is it in the benefit of a creator to go all in on this? Well,
Todd, then that begs another question: is well, where do they go and how do they approach? I know that there's a big upswing, and I saw this even at NAB around platforms that are coming out that are being built. Like Patreon and Memberful and
exactly
and that are building platforms to support creators in other ways of monetizing and building community.
I think that is what have we, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, and yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's the blowback from this is that more creators are going to go out and build their own communities and build their own.
And the challenge is maybe you won't, maybe you won't be discovered and get so big on YouTube, but maybe you can make more money on your own without the big machine taking a chunk.
Though I would say that most of these creators are going to look at it and say, well, maybe I need to take like a freemium model, which is like put some free content out there in these big platforms to attract people to
Well, I think most people don't.
my closed platform.
You know, I more and more I participate in value for value, the more I think that's the way to go. It's just because if you're giving value, you can get value back, and you don't need, the example I gave to a podcaster the other day is like, okay, they wanted to monetize, and they have a small show, 2,000-3,000 listeners, and which we can probably get them a host red deal for 2,000 or 3,000. I said, for 3,000, let's just say 5,000 listeners, you're probably going to make a gross revenue of 125. After the split, you're left with 70%. Let's say it's $100. You gross 100 after a split, you're left with $70 for your audience. I said, all you need in your audience is 1 or 2, maybe 3 people to make small donations, and you have already met or made more than what a CPM model is by providing, value, getting donations, Patreon, whatever you want to call it. So again, I think there's economics here that work the other way around. Now, Mr. Beast, would he have been able to earn the type of money he earned being off YouTube? Probably not. But again, he's an anomaly. He's a, 1/1 millionth of 1% of the YouTubers out there see his type of success. Again, I don't know what the number is, but
but he's actually moving more of his monetization and distribution off of YouTube,
because I think probably he's woke up and said, I can make more. I'm worth more off this platform than I'm not giving up 80% of my revenue back to YouTube.
Well, he is seeing it just like what Joe Rogan saw it as if he does a deal, right, a distribution deal on some other more monetized platform, like let's say Amazon Prime or Netflix or something like that, and put his content out over there or off of some cable channel somewhere, that he can get a royalty check out of that. That's in addition to YouTube.
Sounds like Mr. Beast is going to be a trendsetter. Come on,
he already is.
Come on, YouTubers, come on. We'll leave
he's
the
been
light.
a trendsetter.
We'll leave
for years.
We'll leave the light on for you. Come on down.
Right. Yeah, I don't think he wants to be yelling at his audience anymore, which would make him a bad podcaster. I think.
And here's the thing too, Rob. I have to play devil's advocate here because you have bit the YouTube bug. It's you've been hypnotized, and
we're playing our parts here, Todd, that are reflective of the market. So, right. I also went out and did a meetup at the NAB with a company called Uscreen, and that's not Ustream, it's Uscreen.
Uscreen, like in Scream?
Screen, like you're watching me on this.
Oh, okay.
Right now. Screen, Uscreen, which is a platform for video creators building profitable membership groups. So that's the purpose of this platform.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Look at the price.
Mm-hmm.
I can do better than that.
Says,
wow, look at the price.
It says it's the only platform focused entirely on making it easy for video creators to deliver a premium membership with video content, built-in community and mobile apps, and a subscription revenue model built into this.
You're forcing listener to get another app. It's a failure already. $199, $599. Plus $1.99 per paid member. Plus $5.99, and then you have to pay for every member that. What is this model? Are you sure I'm on the right place? Uscreen.tv, is that the right place?
Yeah, that's right.
This is insane. Why would so I'm going to pay them $1.99 for every person that joins my community?
Well, Todd, let me explain a little bit more what's going on behind the scenes here. This is a platform that caters to big content creators, right? Ones that have huge numbers that are a part of their audience community right now. So that pricing is actually not out of the realm of feasibility for a big creator, right? But they are working on a version of this that will be open to, let's say, podcasters,
But-
like everyday podcasters that could utilize this type of a experience to combine audio with video in a community that would be off of, let's say, a YouTube.
So if I have 1,000 people that
Right.
sign up for my channel, it's $500 plus another 1,500 for the pleasure of my audience joining my channel. How can you pay? How?
Hey, Todd, I just said that they're going to come out with
Okay,
a lower price
I understand.
plan to accomplish this.
I
So
understand
you're
that.
focused on
But-
a kind of a mismatch.
Okay,
here.
okay,
So-
hang on here.
right,
But
right.
even a pro plan, even for someone that is famous, how can they afford to pay $1.49? That's like saying that's like Rob saying, okay,
Huh.
I have to pay. Okay, this is the example.
Hey, Todd,
I
some
have-
of the creators that they're working with are making $500,000 a year.
Okay, but why do you pay? Okay, this makes no sense.
It's a whole different classification
how-
of content creators.
But at the same time, how do I extract $1.49? If I said, okay, Rob, because we're on Blueberry and because we have X number of people that are listening to the show, you have to write me a check for $1.49 for every person that listens to the show every month. That's what model is that?
Well, Todd, they
I-
have
hey-
over 4,000 content creators.
Well,
on
then
their
that
platform.
company should be if these creators being that stupid to pay this kind of price, then guess what?
But Todd, it's working for them.
How are they
Else they
making
wouldn't
more
be
than
doing it.
How are they making more than $1.49 for each person that
Well, that's what the
joins
platform does. That's what the platform does. That's what you're buying when you spend that money. Is you're buying the tools to be able to monetize at scale like that.
Okay, so what do we get here? Affiliate integration, third-party Zapier integration, shoppable videos, member content migrations.
So you need to
I-
think beyond just the $20 a month or something, Todd, on content distribution.
No, I'm thinking
There are
about.
tools that are more powerful.
I'm thinking, how am I going to extract $1.49 from every person that listens to this show? How do I get every listener of this show to pay for this service? How do I extract at least that much money out
So
of them?
Todd, what if you charge each of your members $9.99 a month?
Doesn't say anything about that in here.
Well, because the content creator can set whatever price they want. So if they're being charged $1.49, right, per user per month, but yet they're charging $5.99.
That's a great.
What's that
that's-
delta
that's
between?
that's a great model for Uscreen. My goodness.
Yeah, but they're also getting paid to provide a powerful service that can service that particular private community.
Again,
So 4,000 creators here on this that are taking advantage of either the growth plan or the pro plan right now.
that's pretty impressive.
It's a niche market, definitely, Todd.
How many?
I'm not saying
So
that it's going to be like, 100,000 content creators.
So
We're
let's.
talking about the top content
So
creators.
how many of you that are listening to this show will follow me over to Uscreen? We'll put all the content over there. Rob and I will pay in the
No,
100.
it's not all the content. It would be some derivative content like what goes on at Patreon. So,
Wow.
The whole freemium model can play here as well if you want to. It's got all of the capabilities that you would want to have a member organization around your content. It can be different content from a podcast too. It doesn't have to be the same content.
So it's yoga, fitness, education, entertainment, lifestyle. But it's amazing it amazes to me if people are spending that kind of money.
It's this shift, Todd, from this concept of audience to this concept of fans. So, building a fan community.
That's a fan.
versus-
It's the same thing. Fans, is audience, they're all the same.
Not how a content creator needs to think about it, though. If you're
Oh.
building passionate fans, you want to have that additional layer of engagement, right? That can be monetized. So it's not a kind of a more of a passive relationship that typically happens with a podcast. It's more of an active connection with your audience.
Ross says
that's where the future is, I believe.
Ross says you don't pay per subscriber only if you're managing a membership community. A subscriber pays $9.99 or $19.99 for access to on-demand videos. They are paying the creator. A lot of creators put courses type videos, how-tos, entertainment shows up.
Mm-hmm.
But a subscriber pays $9.99 to who? Uscreen, or pays $9.99 or $19.99 to the creator?
I'm sure it's paid to the creator, and then the platform takes that cut.
Oh, they're gonna, yeah, $1.49.
Well, it depends on which plan you have. If you're paying $4.99 a month, it's $1.49 paid per member, or if you're paying the $149 a month, then it's $1.99. It's the same model that Patreon has, Todd. It's not
Patreon just takes a percentage. You don't pay for every creator. So you're basically
but you could split that down to per creator.
Yeah,
and come up with a number.
It's going to be what 3% or 4% or whatever their number is.
Right.
Those prices are just examples. The money goes to the creator. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, again,
I mean, this type of model may be increasingly what we see creators start to move towards.
But again, you're under the control of a platform.
It's true.
So again, you're going from one lock platform to another lock platform.
See, I think one other thing to take away from this is that it may be that this may be the only way that people can have some form of free speech as we look to the future.
Podcasting, you have all the free speech you want.
Well, I don't know that that's going to remain that way.
Yeah, it's going to remain until I die. Or until
I'm
I
not
get
talking
fired.
about you, Todd. I'm talking about the industry. It's definitely pointing, which is a good segue, Todd, because I had a conversation with some folks that are out there trying to educate people around brand safety and suitability.
Oh God, let's not get into this.
Yeah, so I asked a couple of these ladies to come on the podcast at some point to go head to head with us on this.
Please do that when I'm not on the show, when I'm somewhere. Oh my God.
Todd, don't you want to know the nitty gritty on this topic?
I don't want to hear about censorship.
Yeah, but that's only part of what's being talked about here. So that's a outcome of this, but it's not understanding the process that is being rolled out in the industry right now. And that's the conversation that I want to have.
It's not being rolled out in my platform.
But it is in others.
Well, good. So, then people come on down. Blueberry's the home of free speech.
Well, Todd, it's going to increasingly come to the consumption side, not the distribution side.
If I have an RSS feed.
No, but think Spotify, think Apple,
of course.
Think the listener side.
And this is why we have Podcasting 2.0. That's why we have Open Podcasting app. That's why you have an RSS feed. This ain't going to happen.
Todd, think about it. What happens if Section 230 of the Millennium Copyright Act gets overturned? Because it could.
No, if it does, I think it does.
Then we'll see this stuff roll out in full spectrum.
I don't think so.
If Section 230 gets overturned, yes, it will, because it'll be required.
I'm not enforcing any. You got freedom of speech on my platform.
I get it.
As long as you stay within your
no, I want that
terms of service.
I'm just saying that's why we need to have this conversation, because this is people need to understand what's going on behind the scenes.
Did you guys get in a fist fight in the hallway?
There was a thread where I challenged their assumptions, because they're drawing this distinction that somehow is I'm misunderstanding somehow about the difference between, and it's like slicing hairs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This difference between brand safety and brand suitability, and somehow there's some unique and valuable aspects of the distinction between these two things, and that's what they're going to come on.
I don't
and
want
argue the
I don't
case
want
for.
some company to tell me what I should not listen to. I don't need an organization, government or anyone telling me what I should and shouldn't listen to. And that's
Yeah, but it kind of goes beyond that, Todd. You're kind of jumping ahead to another aspect of it, which is, more impact on what you can consume as a content consumer. What I'm talking about is the application of this technology to the content creator, right? About what they can say and what they can do if they want to monetize their program, because this technology is being applied to content creators that want to monetize through advertising.
Then what's
right?
going to end up happening is there'll be a big boomerang that's going to happen. They're going to do this, and then there's going to be such little inventory left to monetize. The advertisers are going to be like, let's fire these people.
But
we're losing.
Todd, we've got to raise awareness to what's happening here.
Well, I think it's well known what's happening.
No, it's not, Todd. Most people don't even understand what brand suitability and brand safety is, let alone in the podcast industry or space. I mean, if you're involved in podcast advertising, you're probably more aware of it. But if you're not involved in podcast advertising directly at scale, you're probably not even affected by it.
So if you're not doing advertising, you're not going to be affected.
Well, that's the bigger concern that I have, Todd, is that this technology is going to, just like we've seen with YouTube, it's going to roll out in the consumption side of podcasting. And then episodes are going to get taken down off of the podcasting platforms, potentially, with the same technology layer.
They won't get taken down. You think they're going to?
Todd.
If they do that, then it is going to be World War III.
Well, okay.
Because you start taking content down because someone said something that a computer didn't think was appropriate. When that audience finds out this content's being removed because they've been told
every day on YouTube.
Well, that's the risk of being on YouTube.
It is.
So
really, there's no argument on that.
So again, when audiences start being waked up and being told, sorry, content's not available here anymore because the computer removed the content, then there's going to be a visceral reaction. People do not like to be told what they can and cannot listen to. And what will happen then, and we've seen this a lot, I've seen this on YouTuber channels that said, hey folks, I just got demonetized, and they're at a loss as to what to do. Because their ability to get ads, to get whatever this super chat is, that's all been taken away. And the next thing they know, it's just like getting shot in the head because YouTube has killed them and killed their ability to make money. And as enough people has this happen to them, they will wake up. There has to be a better way. And that's what will be the demise of these platforms. When they bring the hammer too hard and piss too many people off, piss too many creators off, the pendulum will shift. But until it gets so painful, it won't. It's just going to continue the stupidity is going to continue.
Well, the risk is kind of, as a content creator, self-censoring what you're talking about in the program, and increasingly that is happening.
Well, then
for a variety of motivational reasons,
money
in the market,
money.
Well, that's the lever that's being used right now in the podcasting space. It's all about access to ad support. So if you talk about content in your podcast, right, and it gets picked up by these brand suitability and safety algorithms, they will flag it as problem content.
As soon as I mention the word Elon Musk, then this content is flagged for brand safety.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works, right? And my question of those platforms is, how sophisticated are they to understand deep context to what's being discussed. So are they still living in the
You
realm
just want to
of-
give me a
of-
heart attack bringing these people
of-
on and want me to go to war with them.
Well, Todd, if we just let it happen in the background and nobody's aware of it, one day it's gonna come up and it's gonna bite us all in the ass, and like go, well, how come we didn't know about this?
Well, again, primarily now it's affecting people that are advertising. But I agree, if it starts going beyond that, but it already is on YouTube. It's already going beyond advertising. It's being
I think we've already seen
Yeah.
the fact that it doesn't really. I mean, it hasn't negatively impacted in any kind of tangible way that I've seen YouTube. So, because if you think about the divisions,
if
in this
your
country-
favorite channel's demonetized, it affects you.
yeah,
That
but
creator's quitting.
okay, but most of the creator or most of the audience members don't really know when something has been removed.
Well, most channels, when they are demonetized, specifically demonetized.
And oftentimes the consumer of the show doesn't know that.
Well,
So
I've heard it a
this
lot.
is happening in the background. This is happening in the background. It's directly impacting content creators. And it's also a reason why we're seeing the growth in alternative economy type platforms like a Rumble, is that people are,
Yeah.
doing that shift between YouTube and Rumble, because Rumble won't take you down if you talk about topics that, maybe are considered by YouTube to be controversial.
Or if you're a government that tries to censor politicians and
Well,
Yeah.
Welcome to our world, right? We're all being monitored and we're all being listened to, and increasingly that capability is growing. So
well,
that's the reality of our world today.
all I can
think-
say is
I think everybody knows that, Todd. It's just that a lot of people aren't willing to say it.
well, and it's most people say, "Oh, it can't happen to me," until it does.
Well, it's like it's the old argument, Todd. If you don't say anything controversial, then you're never going to get in trouble,
But
right?
in the eyes of who?
No,
that's-
just generally.
Well, no.
If you don't take a contrary view to whatever political position that's in favor out there,
right.
then you're not going to get in trouble. And as long as you conform to what the expectations are, you're not going to get in trouble.
Conform.
That's-
Conform.
That's the danger here, right?
It is the danger. And
Right.
this is why open podcasting, open RSS, is the ultimate form of anti-censorship.
And this show is about what's happening in the media landscape, the new media landscape. And I'm not holding back on talking about important topics in this medium. I know that there are many people out there in the podcast medium and outside of the podcast medium that are very, very kind of hesitant to talk about what's actually happening in the new media industry right now.
Because guess why? They're going to have. They're going to get.
They're all scared of losing their careers. They're all scared of
They're going to get
ramifications.
They're going to get cut off from the cash
Yeah.
supply.
Yeah, they're concerned about losing their jobs, or they're concerned about pissing off the wrong person because they took the wrong
Instead
position.
of standing up and saying no.
Well, it's even beyond that, Todd. It's just helping people understand what's happening, and maybe that will inspire others to object as well, Todd. So I mean, we're safer in numbers than we are
that's true.
as individuals. So there's only 5 people in the world calling this out. Those 5 people can easily be taken out, right? But if there's 1 million of us,
You got a bulletproof vest, Rob?
right? If there's 1 million of us, they kind of have a hard time doing that, right?
It's the first, it won't be the first time I've had to wear a jacket.
Yeah. I mean, and this is the other point that I'm trying to drive here too, is that this technology doesn't have to be used for bad. It can be used for good purposes.
Most of it's
and-
being used for bad.
Right. But what my pushback is that let's use this technology to better target the brands with the audience based on psychographics and demographics, not political graphics, right? Or cultural graphics. Let's not be as concerned about that, because I don't believe
I can do
this is
that.
what-
I can do that without brand safety.
this is what I challenge others that talk about this that are in the research side, I say, have you done any studies that actually correlate a reduction of ROI for being compliant with these brand safety platforms? So, are you seeing an increase in ROI, or are you seeing a decrease? Are you seeing fewer numbers of shows
No
being
one's going to answer
purchased,
that. No one's going to answer
purchased because of these brand safety
that. No one's going to answer that.
platforms? Right. So if we want to hit,
You know why? You know why they're not going to answer that? It doesn't fit the narrative.
right. But what's true? That's the question. Or are we not playing the,
What is
truth card
what
here?
is true is that some people think that adults can't think for themselves, and they think they need to protect us from ourselves. That's what they think, and it's
So
ultimately
they think we're stupid then.
and this is what they ultimately say back to the advertisers, is that these people are too stupid to protect themselves, such that you should not advertise. Maybe that's not the right analogy, but you should not advertise on this show because of the perception. Yeah.
Well, just think about it, Todd. The New York Times, in an op-ed like about a month and a half ago, came out saying that the New York Times podcasts are being negatively impacted based on brand safety platforms.
Well, it tells you, that's hard to believe. From their political standpoint, it's hard to believe that they're being.
Well, they're being targeted because these brand safety and suitability platforms may or may not be as capable as they're being portrayed to be. Their argument is that, just to give you an example, some of the podcasts, they're news shows, so they're covering like war topics and things like that, and they're using the word gun in their
Right. Just like me
production,
using the
right?
word Elon Musk.
Right. And those are being flagged as not brand safe, right? And my question for them is are you really analyzing this on the context of what is being, how that word is
how
being
did that
used?
conversation go with these brand safety pundits?
Well, I didn't really have that particular point with them yet. So that's what I wanted to have on this show is that
Ooh, that'd be a lively one.
Are these algorithms that they're utilizing to evaluate programs, are they taking into account proper context?
Well,
Because
they're
I
going
don't
to,
believe.
you know what they're going to say? Oh, yes, of course.
I know, but then why is the New York Times complaining that they got
They're not
demonetized
using our
because
service.
they used the word gun in
They're not
their
using our
news reporting?
It'd all be deflection. They're not using our service. They should be using us instead of the company that they're using. That'll be the deflection. Everyone does this.
Yeah, but it's happening from increasingly. It started out as happening at the agencies, at the ad buying agencies. And then increasingly, it's been moving to the distribution platforms, this brand safety, because increasingly we've seen distribution platforms have advertising.
Yeah, because they're
models built around
advertising.
them.
They're advertising against the content and making money off that. And
Right, and they're also selling the advertising into those programs.
And the creator doesn't get jack of that. So,
well, and it's also being done as kind of a default evaluation, and sometimes, at least, I don't know that that's happening right now, that all the creators don't always know that they're being evaluated based on these criteria.
anyone that's taking advertising has to know that already. If they're not,
Well,
they're sleeping
I
behind
think
a rock.
now they do, but in the early days, I'm not sure that everybody knew that their shows were being run through these algorithms, because they were being done at the agency level before they made the buy. So, but I do think that's changed now. I think it's now at the level of the agency. Beyond the agency, it's at the platform level. So if you're like a ad sales platform that's associated with the hosting platform, those ad sales representatives will likely run their shows that they're repping into agencies.
I'm going to have 10
models.
not 10 Tylenol. I'll have to have 10 Tums before we talk to these people.
So I don't know.
And I'm going to sit and let you go to war, because if I say anything, I'm probably going to say stuff I'll regret and get fired for.
Well, that's what makes this whole thing so unfortunate, is because I think that there's a willingness on those platforms' part to talk about this stuff. I'm just not sure that they're going to talk about it in a way that really answers all these questions.
Well, they're going to
because-
sell their narrative. They're there to sell a service. They're there to make money by analyzing this data. They're going to sugarcoat it in any way they can and make them sound like they're the perfect angels and doing the best for the consumers listening to this content to protect
Well-
them from bad content and to protect the
misinformation and
Oh, my
disinformation
God.
is the goal, Todd. Here.
again, I don't need any big brother, any company, any service telling me.
Right.
If I want to,
Yeah, and brand safety under their definition is topics that are not aligned with the values of the brand.
don't advertisers realize that if I'm listening to show 123, I'm listening because I like that show, and that I'm going to support an advertiser that is running in that show. Now, where the problem comes in is you have some looky-loo that doesn't, not even a fan of that show. It's going to come in and
That's
say,
evaluating it.
and they're going to
Yeah.
say, oh my God, brand XYZ is advertising in this show. Oh my God, I'm going to boycott them instead of minding their business.
Well, I mean, I think there's a good example of that out there right now, and it's Tesla. I think it's got caught up in the political divide out there, and there are certain individuals out there in the world, and this is probably the argument that they could make, is that there are perceptions on the part of consumers out there that are politically leaning towards supporting certain companies that have opposite leanings in their kind of political orientation and their leadership.
Elon was the darling of the left until he bought X, and now he's the arch enemy.
Right, but that's a good example. So let's say you're brand X and you look at advertising for Tesla, Tesla is not really advertising very much, but they may start advertising. So certain brands may not want to advertise associated with what, or even the content may not align with running a Tesla.
So as soon as you throw politics into the equation, people just lose their freaking minds. Oh,
yeah,
my God.
People are losing friendships. People are.
Oh, that's been going on
families
since COVID.
Yeah, but I think it's even getting worse now. I think there's families being divided along political lines.
Oh,
they don't even talk to each other.
Rob, that was happening hardcore during COVID. It was the vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, the folks that never say, "I'm not taking the shot."
No, I agree with you.
And then, you're not taking the shot. You're putting.
But it's not getting any better, Todd.
Well, no, it's not. But that's when it started.
Yeah, that's when it started. Right.
Mind your own business.
even business deals between people now always have a political undertone now.
So let me show you.
Are you with us or against us?
Let me show you something here. Let me get it here. There we go. This is what we need to show on the show right now. Let me bring it up here. There we go. Don't tread on me.
Isn't that a military thing, Todd?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I think the reality is we in our society, and this is the soapbox that I'm starting to get on too.
Sure.
We need to respect our opinions.
Yeah.
Different opinions. And those opinions don't have to hurt anybody. You as an individual can only allow something to hurt you. It's the old argument of sticks and stones break my bones, but words don't hurt us.
But that's
right? That's been around for a long time.
But people say words do hurt me now. So that's the problem. We've moved out of that.
This,
Rob,
it's
we're
this
old.
ideology around victimhood.
We're old. We're old. So of course we're old. So of course,
Yeah, but it's the ideology of victimhood is what's kind of behind a lot of this, and that's the societal shift that's happened. Is that people are able to capture power by portraying themselves as victims.
I don't want to go into this. This turns into a conversation that has no good ending.
Well, that's the problem, Todd, is that if nobody ever talks about it, it becomes.
I talk about it on my tech show all the time. I said, I don't want anyone, and again, I'm not listening to anything radical, but I don't want anyone telling me what to listen to. And I'm smart enough to make up my own. The thing is, here is wherein lies the issue. I think the American public, or any public in the world, has the ability to choose what they want to listen to, what they don't want to listen to. It's when the looky-loos.
Why does someone else have to decide what I can hear?
Right. Or how, and again,
because that's really risky, actually. Yeah.
And I think everyone should be able to listen to what they want. They should be able, and this is where, maybe we get to the point where advertisers won't be able to advertise in anything.
Well, I think it's a big threat to the advertising industry as you look into the future, and why we're seeing this shift towards like a U-screen, right? Is that's more member direct relationships with content creators. And
so
that's the only safe pathway.
So again, we have that in place today in the podcasting space, value for value.
Mm-hmm.
You can participate in the value for value community. If we're giving you value, you can give value back.
Yeah.
Time, talent, or treasure. We don't need a fancy platform to spend $500 a month and $1.49 a head to facilitate that. We have an open platform that facilitates that today on podcastapps.com. Ding, ding.
And we have that as long as we have it. But the tools are not as developed. I'll just put it that way.
Well, we know it's a challenge for people to do streaming sats, and that's
why Patreon has existed for as long as it has, is for that reason alone, is that podcasting doesn't really have that dynamic built into its widespread distribution.
So Adam and Dave, if you're listening here, this, we do need to make it easier for people to use real fiat cash in apps to do value for value. So
yeah, some way to do that.
Well, there is. They've got we have that available. We just got to get the apps to surface those donation links that leads to our PayPals and so forth. So, that is covered, but it's not really embedded. You can't do, streaming sats. You can't do micropayments, but maybe there could be something where you get to the end of listening to a show and said, hey, you decided to contribute 25 cents a minute. Here's your bill, pay your invoice. I don't know, but, or pay in advance. I know some people are screaming at me right now. All right. We are like long.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
All right. I'm tired.
Almost 2 hours this time.
I'm exhausted. So, by the way, I will not be available the week of May. I will not be available 2 shows from now. I will be available for the next show and the next show, but no show on the 8th for me. And if you want to go solo and invite those brand safety people on and argue in my proxy, feel free. I just get exhausted thinking to have to talk to those folks because I already know how it's going to go. I can predict what they're going to say to almost a word. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. We're not really doing that. No, we're not doing that. I can hear it now.
Yeah. Well, it's
maybe. Yeah, and maybe we need to expose the hypocrisy would be good.
Well, I think making more people aware of how it works, how it's being rolled out, as more people want to monetize their shows and think sponsorship is the pathway.
Adventures in Audio
or advertising.
Adventures in Audio on YouTube said would love to see a show on this subject.
I'm sure they would.
Especially
after this topic discussion we've had on this episode.
Yeah, just to see the war that would break out, I'm sure.
I don't want it to be a war. I think both sides lose in that, but I think it's really to have an intelligent conversation about it. And hopefully we can peel back the layers of this onion a little bit and have a deeper understanding of how it works.
But the problem is I don't think they'll be fully transparent. I don't trust them to be fully transparent. But
it may not be in their best business interest to do so. Right.
So are you really going to get the truth? Or are you just going to get a pat you on the head and you'd be a good little dog and go away.
I guess we'll have to find out, won't we?
All right, we've had a lot of you on the stream. And yes, Stephanie, people are losing friendships over opinions. Yes, that has happened a lot. Now, lucky Rob and I are still good friends. We haven't lost our friendship yet, but if we get to the point where we need to do that, we'll take a time out and go to a boxing ring and strap on.
Yeah,
some
Todd, it's
boxing
going to be around this whole topic of video. I definitely think that's what's going to drive us apart, Todd.
Oh, okay, whatever. You're not going to get rid of me that easy. Okay, everyone.
I know.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Thanks for being here. And I'm Todd at blueberry.com, at geeknews.chat on Mastodon, the last preference, another place of free speech, and of course at Geek News on X, where hopefully Elon lets loose on the Brazilians. I want to see that.
The Brazilians?
The Brazilian Supreme Court judge. I hope we get to see that entire thread. And Elon.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah, that company is going through some tough times right now. So,
gotta admit, he does what he says. Love him or hate him.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten my FSD 12X quite yet in my car.
You haven't paid the $99 a month for it, or?
No, I was supposed to get a free 30 days of it, but they haven't sent the update to a certain subset of vehicles. I believe that the subset of vehicles have ultrasonic capability in them.
Now that it's warmed up a little bit, you can actually safely drive somewhere, Rob. So.
I can. Okay. I just drove all the way down to Newark, New Jersey in my car.
It's warm again. It's not 20 below, so.
Yeah.
Just teasing you.
I know you are.
All right, everybody. Rob.
All right. I'm on X as well at Rob Greenlee, and you can find me at robgreenlee.com. I'm doing another live show tomorrow night, Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I'm going to be talking about podcasting and the convergence with video and on that show for StreamYard. So come check it out.
And if you stayed with us for an hour and 50 minutes, we must have gave you some value. So the PayPal link is at newmediashow.com. Everyone take care. We'll see you.